Right here, I've got the Amaran T4c tube light, which is actually the first tube light in the Amaran or Aperture family. And well, it was an exciting announcement because it has been heavily requested for many, many years. So really exciting that this came out. Now they do ship in a little padded case, which is nice. Offers a little bit of protection, kind of keeps all your contents nice and sturdy. However, if you are keeping these lights on your grip van or grip truck or something like that and kind of moving a lot between locations, I'd recommend maybe getting a Pelican case, like a long rifle case or something like that, just to have a little bit more protection just from getting beaten around on the grip truck and stuff like that. It's kind of nice that this little case comes with it, but I wouldn't trust this just as the sole protection on like a grip truck or something like that. So real quick, the Amaran T4c, what does T4c stand for? Well, the T stands for tube light because, well, it's a tube light, obviously. 4 is the length, so this is a 4-foot light. They also have the T2c, which is a 2-foot tube light, and then C meaning color. Color meaning it is an RGB WW light. So you have, obviously you got a red, green, and blue LED chip, and then you have a warm white and a cool white chip. This gives you a lot of color temperature options. You have your standard, well, I guess an extended range of 2500 Kelvin all the way up to 7500 Kelvin. So you got that kind of warm 2500 Kelvin up to the cooler 7500 Kelvin. And then also what you can do is you can actually expand that in the Sidus Link app to go from 1500 Kelvin all the way up to 20,000 Kelvin. So you have a massive range when it comes to your CCT range. Now the benefit obviously with RGB lights is the fact that you can change the color of these lights, and the easiest way to do that is to just do it in this Sidus Link app. And if you've not been using the Sidus Link app with your Aperture Amaran fixtures, I highly recommend it because it is probably one of the most powerful lighting control apps out there. Not gonna go into all the details in this video, but highly recommend you using this app. So you have your color tunability, a wide range of colors, but also another huge benefit of these lights, the fact that you have a green and magenta shift correction. It's a huge benefit of RGB WW lights. It's not really talked about very much in this YouTube space with lights, but it's super important nonetheless. Maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. All right, now let's take a look at the physical design of this unit. So real quick, we have the tube itself, and then we have the battery grip here that's attached, which is removable, but you can also use the included AC adapter to plug it in while maybe you're setting up your scene or whatever. And you want to have this wireless for the actual shot, but don't want to drain the battery while you're setting up. Well, you can plug this in here, and as you can see, when you plug it or unplug it, it doesn't have any effect on the power state of the light, which is really nice. So when you unplug it, then the power stays the same and you're not losing any settings or anything like that. So really nice to have that feature here. Now on the back, you have the control panel right here. So you got a little screen right here to kind of tell you what settings you're at. You got a menu button and a return button, and then you have this little jog wheel that helps you navigate through the menu systems, and also serves, if you push it in, as kind of an enter function as well. If your on and off switch here, and then you can actually, this is actually pretty cool, you can actually control these with via DMX with a USB Type-C adapter, which is really neat to have DMX compatibility, which is not something you see on all the Amaran lights, so it's kind of nice to kind of have that little feature built in. Now, as for mounting this light, you have quite a few options for mounting holes and stuff like that. So as you can see here, we have these 3 mounting holes. We got 2 1/4-20s, and then 1 3/8 by 16. I think 16 is the third pitch of that. And then on the 3/8 mounting thread here, you have 2 locating pins here, so you can prevent any twist or backing out of the threading, which is really cool. And then you have the same mounting point here and another one down here at the very end. And then at the very end on the side, you have a mounting point here, which is 3/8, and then also on the bottom of the battery grip. And then the other thing, which is really cool, this is a really cool feature of this light, is the whole back right here, this is a NATO rail, so you can actually mount you know, any kind of magic arm or something like that that has a NATO rail attachment at the back of it, which is pretty awesome because then you have mounting points basically through the entirety of the fixture, which is awesome. So let's move back down to this battery group because I think this is kind of the biggest surprise when these tube lights were announced, because most tube lights out there on the market pretty much start here and end right here with a battery built in. Now, obviously, I think we would all like to have seen a battery built in, but there are also some benefits to this battery grip, which is also pretty neato. So one benefit is if you are doing a moving scene, for example, like the camera's moving and you need to have a light on the talent at all times and you kind of just need to Hollywood a light in, well, this battery grip kind of helps with that, because then at that point you're able to kind of hold the light. Number one, you're able to look like a Jedi, which is also sick. And the other thing is you can hold this without covering any of the light, or this light actually gets really hot on the back here if you're running at full intensity. So it's much cooler to the touch, and you can kind of hold this over and walk, have battery power, so you don't have to have it connected to any cables, and be able to light your talent while you're on the move. So that's actually kind of a benefit and something that I like having over just an internal tube like this. Also, it's a good anchor, so if you're mounting it vertically like this right here, having a lot of weight at the bottom means that it's less likely to tip over when you've got like a tripod, like, you know, one of those like gimbal tripod thingies down at the bottom. When you have that there, this battery grip is a nice little anchor. So if you got a situation like this where this is the bottom of the light's going to be out of frame anyways, then you actually have the benefit of the battery grip here. Now, if you're using these lights out of frame, then the battery grip doesn't really matter. Like, in fact, right now I've got one overhead and it's kind of lighting up this backdrop and kind of giving me a backlight, and having the battery grip on or off or whatever doesn't make a difference because it's out of frame and you can't even see the shot. I've used this quite a bit for product shots, and again, it wasn't used as a practical, it's just used to light the actual product, and having the battery grip on or off really made no difference because you couldn't see them in the shot. So all that to be said, just because it has a battery grip and it's different from some of the other fixtures out there on the market, don't write it off as it kind of being a disadvantage, because there are definitely some advantages to having this battery grip. Now, there are a couple of downsides with having the battery grip. One is if you want to use this as a practical in the scene, well, having the battery grip in here, that's kind of negating it looking like a practical, and you gotta have to be pretty creative with finding ways to hide that. However, if you want to, you can also run it without the battery grip and just run the AC lead right here and plug it in, and that becomes much more manageable to deal with than having the battery grip. So you could kind of get away with that. So that's one kind of downside of having no built-in battery. The other downside of having this built-in battery is it is quite heavy. So if you want to mount it horizontally, you're gonna have to have a pretty strong NATO rail and magic arm to be able to hold it in place, because this battery grip does throw off the balance quite a bit. So yeah, definitely some downsides to having this battery grip and not a built-in battery, but obviously there are some advantages as well. You just kind of have to understand what those are and, you know, what fits into your workflow the most to see if this is a viable option for you. Now, one thing I do want to mention about this light is the fact that the back of this unit, if you're running it at full intensity, gets very, very warm to the touch. And it's kind of surprising how warm it gets. It doesn't seem to affect the performance or anything of that of the light. This is a passively cooled light, so the heat dissipates through the back of this light. So, but it does get really warm. So if you are on set with either with a PA or a gaffer or someone that's not familiar with these lights, just warn them that this light does get pretty warm to the touch, so just to be careful. Now, since getting these lights in, I've had them for probably maybe 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. I've used it on like interview setups and product shots and all that kind of good stuff, and I've been really impressed with it. I've been impressed with the output. Obviously, the usability with the Sidus Link app is just tremendous. I mean, I just absolutely love the Sidus Link app. And just being able to mount these in ways to help with my shots where either a point source or a panel light or something like that just isn't as practical, no pun intended, for using these lights. Now that said, there are like a couple of things that like maybe in like a Mark II version of these lights that I think would just be pretty stellar. One of them being having a mounting point here in the middle, so that if you wanted to run these overhead like I've got right now, but you wanted to have battery power to not have any cables in the shot, just having these same mounting locations here where the center of gravity is with this light with the battery grip on would be awesome. Now I know you do have the NATO rail right here, but you can also mount the NATO rail over these as well. It would just be nice to have mounting locations here where the center of gravity changes with the battery grip. And then the other thing is, I mean, obviously having an internal battery would be awesome. So I'm not sure where you could even mount the battery with regards to heat and stuff, but it'd be nice to just have some sort of internal battery to even give you like 20 or 30 minutes of runtime internally just for a scene or a take or something like that, so you could use it as a practical. But Aperture's got their own brand of tube lights coming out with the internal battery, so that's not really that big of a deal. But I would say I do wish that this barrel connection right here would have two things. Number one, I wish it was have a locking connection both here and here somehow. I'm not sure how you do it here. But also I wish the barrel connection would be on the back of the unit as opposed to the side of the unit, so that if you were to mount the lead into the back and either rain it down the back or something like that, it would be hidden from view. So other than that, those are kind of like my only wish list items for maybe an updated version of this light, but those are kind of nitpicky, and there are definitely workarounds for them. So overall, I'm really happy with this light. Now, do I recommend? Absolutely. You just gotta have to decide if the battery grip is more advantageous or more of a disadvantage to you. If it's more of a disadvantage to you, then I would say wait for the Aperture lights. But if the battery grip isn't that big of a deal to you, like to me, it's honestly not that big of a deal, then I would say go for it. So that kind of wraps up this video. Kind of all over the place, like a lot of my videos. Should really get into scripting my videos. But yeah, that's it. I do recommend, but I recommend only if you need tube lights in your kit. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you found any use in this video, then maybe give me a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button, all that kind of good stuff. And I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.